The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Before we get into tonight's show, we'd like to thank everyone that has followed us on Facebook after we asked you to.
We are closer to our goal of 100. Just 3 more, people. Just 3 more.
And once again, we'd like to thank all of you wanderers out there that left us comments on your favorite listening platform. And also for you new followers out there. I'm Wes, and that's my lovely wife, Beth. And each week, Beth and I share stories that piqued our curiosity.
From hauntings to cryptids to UFOs to just plain old mysterious what the heck happened.
So if you're new, welcome to the Wanderers family.
Yes, welcome.
Now for tonight, we're going to get right into our episode because as we sit here in the Where Our Minds Wander studio, we've got a lot of snow coming down. We're expecting up to 18 inches and there's a winter storm advisory and a state of emergency in effect.
There is.
But on the bright side, Beth doesn't have to teach school tomorrow, so she's off.
I know, and it's our 9th wedding anniversary tomorrow, so we get to spend the whole day together.
Isn't that lovely?
We can continue painting our figures for our Mansions of Madness game that we bought.
Yes, you know, we watched a documentary on board games, and then we were out shopping for groceries, and we went to the mall, and next thing you know, we're looking at board games. Although role-playing board games have never been anything that I've been into.
Me neither.
I've seen them on TikTok and YouTube, and I thought, oh, those are kind of cool. But it's never a thing I was ever interested in. So what do? Well, we went out and bought the board game Mansion of Madness. And it's got quite a few figures that you have to paint.
Well, you don't have to paint them.
Well, if you really want to get into it, you got to paint these figures so they look like people.
And monsters.
And monsters, yes. You can't just run around with a gray figure.
And then tell everybody what happened next after you spent hours painting them and complaining about painting them. What did you do?
Well, Beth seemed to enjoy it so much that I went out and bought 3 expansion packs for the game before we even played the board game.
Enjoyed what? The complaining? Because I hadn't painted any yet. I didn't start helping you until after you bought the 3 additional expansions.
Oh, that's right. I painted like 20 figures by myself.
Yes.
And let me tell you, for those of you who had never painted figures for board games, these things are tiny. And the detail on them is just incredible. But painting them, it's mind-boggling.
Well,
stressful.
I discovered today that I rather enjoy it. So I will be doing more tomorrow while I'm home.
Sure, now that they're almost all done.
Well,
kind of late to the game, aren't you?
What was I doing? I was doing something else.
Watching me?
No.
Oh.
I was doing something.
I don't know. I have no clue.
But anyway.
I'm sure it was something productive.
It was. I just can't remember what it was.
I think you were grading papers for school.
Oh, and yes, I was.
Well, that's enough of that. But if you played the game, let us know what you think and how much you enjoy it. Or if you didn't enjoy it.
No, don't tell us that. We have the main game and then 3 expansions.
Or if you're like me and thought, hey, painting these figures is going to be awful cool, and then realized, fuck, this is a lot of work. Share your experience. Well, for this episode, we're going to cover something that caught Beth's eye while she was doing some research for something else.
Which is usually the way it happens. So I was researching the alleged ghosts at the Smithsonian, and that led me to haunted objects in museums, which then led me to this topic. And it's not about a haunting, but it's definitely mysterious. And then when you take into account that not that long ago, something similar happened at the Louvre.
Quite similar.
Yes, where 2 people made off with over $1 million worth of crown jewels in under 7 minutes. Heists at the Louvre have happened more often than you would think.
Alrighty. With that little bit of knowledge, Beth, why don't you get us started?
Okay, so if you, my darling husband, were planning an art heist, would you plan to steal the most famous painting in the world?
No, I can't say that's something that I've ever thought about. I mean, if I was going to steal something, it'd be jewels.
Easy to put in your pockets?
That's right.
Maybe you could find some ancient miniature figurines that might work in our board game.
Yep. I'd stuff them in my pocket and then wait for people to say, hey, are those stolen jewels in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me?
Oh, you're such a dork. The security guard with the automatic weapons would be asking you that, yes.
He'd be beating me with his baton.
Yes. All right, so what if I told you all that, by all accounts, the Mona Lisa, which is arguably the most famous painting in the world, wasn't famous until it was stolen? Now, to be fair, the Mona Lisa has put up with some pretty shady shit. For reasons I'll never understand, various artworks have seen the brunt of some ridiculous vandalism. But the Mona Lisa seems to have taken the wrath of people's political and personal anger far more than others. In 1956, someone threw acid at her, hitting the lower section of the artwork. Someone else chucked a rock at her that same year, damaging the frame. In 1974, while the Mona Lisa was on tour in Tokyo, a woman attempted to spray paint her, managing to get 20 or 30 droplets of red paint onto the painting. Even after bulletproof glass was put up to protect her, a woman threw a ceramic coffee mug at her in 2009 when she was denied French citizenship. A man in a wig and a wheelchair threw cake at her, smearing vanilla frosting across the glass while he yelled, "Think of the Earth! People are destroying the Earth!" Why you would throw cake at the Mona Lisa when you're upset about people destroying the Earth?
I know, he's wasting good cake. There's definitely something wrong with him.
I don't get the connection, but maybe there was a connection that
I would have just wheeled him out and down the stairs.
Well, I'm sure they apprehended him. But the other thing I find interesting is that I was lucky enough to go to the Louvre several years ago, and I saw the Mona Lisa for myself. And I'm sure everybody knows this because it's been said a million times, but she's much, much smaller than you expect her to be, or at least I expected her to be. And she is behind the bulletproof glass. And when I was there, there was like 100 people trying to see her. So, I'm short and trying to look over people's shoulders and in between, people's handbags to try to see her. I was like, I give up.
Yeah. Well, like I've said before, you've been everywhere. You've seen everything. I'm kind of jealous. But then again, too, what's wrong with all these people? Why can't they just let other people enjoy these paintings and artifacts without stealing them or trying to destroy them?
Well, it gets worse. Because equally as shady, at least to me, are the copious number of love letters that men have written to the Mona Lisa, prompting the Louvre to set up a mailbox just for the painting.
Wow, that's kind of freaky. There's some pretty lonely guys out there. What about women? Aren't there any women writing love letters to the Mona Lisa? Do they not find her attractive?
Well, I'm sure there are, but the source that I looked at said specifically men, but I'm sure there's ladies that are writing her letters too. I mean, it's no different than people, claiming to have feelings for certain AI things, It's the same idea.
Right. Or inanimate objects. Or,
right.
I mean, we watched that one series, remember, called My Strange Addiction. For those people out there who have seen it before, it's pretty good. People were, finding themselves in love with all kinds of strange things.
Right.
It was quite shocking and eye-opening to watch.
Made me feel lucky that I have you.
Well, yeah, you should feel that way. You're just saying that because it's our anniversary tomorrow. But what I found particularly weird about it is some of these people carry their love a little bit too far.
Right.
Not only do they love them, they love them. You know what I mean?
Well, for hundreds of years, from when the Mona Lisa was first put on display in the Louvre in 1815, various men have also loved her because they've arrived with flowers and poems clutched in their hands. And some of the love letters were so racy that guards had to be assigned to stand right next to her in case any admirers got too amorous. There was one sad case, though, where a man shot himself while standing in front of her. So I would say that's taking it too far.
Yeah.
Prior to being in the Louvre, Napoleon Bonaparte had the Mona Lisa hanging in his bedroom for 4 years. So who knows what sort of stuff she witnessed then.
Oh my God, I bet she wished she could have covered her eyes for that.
Yeah. So if we dig a little into the history of the Mona Lisa itself, there were a few things that I was surprised to learn. First, Mona is not her first name. It's the Italian word for my lady. So really, the painting is titled My Lady Lisa. And the model herself was named Lisa Gherardini. Leonardo da Vinci began the painting in 1503, and it was commissioned by Lady Lisa's husband, Francesco del Giocondo, which is why the painting is also referred to as La Gioconda. Most art historians believe that Da Vinci never actually finished the painting. He bequeathed it to his assistant in 1519 to finish it.
Now, the background of the painting has been a major topic of debate. For years, art scholars and historians have tried to figure out where exactly she's supposed to be sitting based on the scenery behind her. But the Mona Lisa's eyebrows are also a big deal, apparently, mostly because she doesn't have any. But recent analysis has revealed that Da Vinci actually did paint in her eyebrows and eyelashes, but they're no longer visible. With that said, there's some debate over whether he painted over them or if restoration in time has erased them. The painting is pretty muted as far as colors go, but it's also covered in layers of yellow varnish. Recently, an exact replica was discovered in Madrid that was painted at the exact same time as the original. Historians think that an apprentice may have sat next to Da Vinci and meticulously reproduced it brushstroke by brushstroke. The copy is much more vibrant, and although Mona Lisa's facial features are very, very slightly different, it's really interesting to look at because it's so much brighter. But like Beth said before, the Mona Lisa wasn't the international sensation it is now until 1911, the year that she was stolen from the Louvre.
When an amateur painter arrived in the morning of August 21st to sit and sketch the Mona Lisa, he was a little perturbed to find nothing but 4 empty hooks on the wall. But he was well aware that museum officials often took paintings down to photograph them, so he didn't question it too much. When hours had passed and she still hadn't been returned, the disgruntled man approached a security guard to ask when they'd be done. The security guard came back in a tizzy. Nobody knew where she was. And, as it turns out, no one had noticed she had gone missing 26 hours earlier. Once word finally got out, police set up roadblocks at every exit point in Paris, checking every vehicle, including wagons. In the railway stations and docks, custom agents checked the luggage of every single passenger boarding a train or a boat. If a ship left before the search began, orders were put in to have every one of them searched once they reached their destination. They even checked every inch of the SS Kaiser Wilhelm II when it docked near New York City.
2 of the initial suspects were also quite a surprise: millionaire tycoon J.P. Morgan and artist Pablo Picasso. J.P. Morgan was a well-known art lover, and authorities thought perhaps he had commissioned the heist. As a side note, the following year, right before the Titanic set sail, J.P. Morgan pulled a bunch of artwork from the ship that he owned, and he and the priceless artwork did not get on the ship. So with that said, I guess authorities showing interest in Picasso wasn't so strange after all. 4 years earlier, Picasso had gotten into some trouble when he purchased a bunch of Iberian stone heads that had been stolen from the Louvre by a poet named Guillaume Apollinaire. It didn't help that just 3 days after the Mona Lisa went missing, Apollinaire was quoted as saying, "The Mona Lisa was so beautiful that her perfection has come to be taken for granted. There are not many works of which this can be said. But what shall we say of the guard that watches the gate of the Louvre?" End quote. It also didn't help that Apollinaire had once signed a petition to burn down the Louvre. Luckily, Picasso was not involved with the Mona Lisa case, and neither was Apollinaire, just to be clear. But suddenly, newspapers all over the world were publishing Mona Lisa's face across their front pages, with their headlines screaming that the famous Da Vinci masterpiece had been stolen. Within weeks, she was not just a household name, but a household face that everyone knew.
Unfortunately, back in Paris, it seemed like the case had gone cold. No one had any idea who had stolen her. But then, on November 29, 1913, an antiques dealer in Florence, Italy, named Alfredo Geri, or Mario Frattilli, depending on the source, received a strange letter. Although it was postmarked from Paris, someone calling himself Leonardo Vincenzo claimed not only did he have the Mona Lisa, but he was willing to sell her, and he was in Florence. This Leonardo Vincenzo claimed, quote, "The stolen work of Leonardo da Vinci is in my possession. It seems to belong to Italy since its painter was an Italian," end quote. Although he claimed that he felt the painting belonged in Italy, he actually wanted to sell her, not donate her. Jerry, the antique dealer, was obviously suspicious, so he contacted Giovanni Poggi, the director at the Uffizi Gallery, the world-famous art museum in Florence. The two men met at Jerry's antique shop on December 10th and waited for Leonardo Vincenzo to appear.
I also want to mention that Vincenzo was rather short, just 5'3". So with that said, his height will come into play later. But anyway, he demanded $100,000 from the men and said they could come see the painting at his hotel room. Jerry and Poggi agreed, but there's a twist to it. They just brought a slew of police officers with them to the meeting. They were able to authenticate that the painting was the real deal, and Leonardo Vincenzo was arrested. So, where had he hidden the Mona Lisa all this time? Well, if you guessed, he hid it in a false bottom trunk in Leonardo Vincenzo's apartment, well, you'd be right. And who was Leonardo Vincenzo? Well, he was a former employee at the Louvre, whose real name was Vincenzo Peruggia.
And it's so funny to me that he claimed he wanted to return the Mona Lisa to Italy, but he demanded $100,000 just for the men to look at her.
Well, I'm thinking that he's thinking that he might get caught, but he can make some money on this deal just by having them come look at it. I mean, that's $100,000 in your pocket just for someone to look at it.
Right.
He probably wasn't thinking that they'd bring the police with them. I mean, it's something you'd keep quiet, right?
Well, yeah.
You would think.
Right. Well, Vincenzo Peruggia was already a petty criminal when he moved to Paris in 1908 and secured a job as a handyman at the Louvre. He was a staunch Italian nationalist and took great offense at being called a macaroni eater by fellow employees. He was arrested in 1908 for trying to rob a prostitute, and then again when he pulled a gun during a fistfight. One of his tasks at the Louvre was to help install the protective glass casings around various paintings in the museum. He blended right in, of course, in his white smock, the uniform of all handymen there. He was able to case the joint, literally and figuratively, for as long as he needed before planning his monumental theft.
At first, police assumed Peruggia had hidden away somewhere inside the Louvre on Sunday evening, August 20th. I even came across some sources that claimed that that's exactly what he did. He hid inside a supply closet. There was even one source that said he accidentally got locked inside the supply closet and a custodian let him out on Monday morning. However, Peruggia himself said that he entered the Louvre Monday morning through the employee entrance, just like everyone else at 7 a.m. He also claimed that he simply waited until the room where the Mona Lisa was hung was completely empty of people, and he just lifted the painting, case and all, off the wall. He casually carried it to the nearest service staircase, and then he removed the protective casing, which, remember, he had helped install. He removed his smock, wrapped it around the painting, tucked it under his arm, and out the employee exit he merrily went. Now, remember, I had mentioned that Peruggia was just 5'3" tall. Authorities wondered how such a short man was able to lift the Mona Lisa off the wall, still inside its protective case, which, by the way, weighed 200 pounds, and carry it to a stairwell all by himself. They figured that he must have had accomplices.
So enter yet another man named Vincenzo, and his brother Michele Lancelotti. Authorities believed that Perugia's motive had nothing to do with patriotism or nationalism, but rather with a huge payoff. They believed that someone had hired the three men to steal the Mona Lisa for them. They believed the three men did sneak into a service closet that Sunday night, and they emerged Monday morning because it was a dark day, meaning the museum was closed to visitors. When they attempted to enter the stairway, it was locked, and Perugia removed the doorknob as quickly as he could. But fearing being caught, he flagged down a security guard and pointed out that they were locked out because someone had taken the doorknob off. Pretty smart.
That it is.
The security guard managed to get the door open for them. Perhaps they told him that they were bringing the Mona Lisa to be photographed, just like that visiting sketch artist had assumed. One thing that I found interesting that corroborates at least part of the story is that one witness recalled seeing Perugia carrying something wrapped in a white sheet outside the building, and he later testified that he saw the thief throw something in the gutter. When he went to see what it was a doorknob.
Boy, I bet whoever has that doorknob now, it's worth some money.
I don't know what kind of doorknobs they have at the Louvre.
It doesn't matter. It was part of a heist.
This is true.
So, if all of this is starting to sound a bit convoluted, well, that's because it is. The police seemed totally confused as to how Perugia was able to pull off the theft of the century. Did he work alone? Was he hired by someone? Did he have accomplices? Now, it didn't help that his trial was a complete spectacle. During his trial, Perugia claimed he hid the painting inside the false bottom trunk in his apartment, waiting until he could safely return to Italy with it. He expressed his belief that all the Italian masterworks in the Louvre had been stolen by Napoleon and brought to France. He believed that each and every one of them should be returned to Italy. When it came specifically to the Mona Lisa, he said, quote, "Many times while working in the Louvre, I stopped before Da Vinci's picture and was humiliated to see it there on foreign soil. I thought it would be a great thing for Italy were I to present the wonderful masterpiece to her. So I planned the theft." End quote. This might be the most eloquent thing he said during his trial because he spent most of it arguing his point by interrupting the judge, ignoring the judge's repeated requests that he stay silent, and arguing with his own lawyer. At first, he was adamant that he had worked alone, but then he backtracked and said that he had been in cahoots with a pair of brothers, Vincenzo and Michele Lancelotti.
The court pointed out that in letters Perugia wrote to his father, he boasted that a giant windfall would soon come to their family. He wrote things like, quote, "I will make my fortune, and that this fortune will arrive in one shot," and "I am making a vow for you to live long and enjoy the prize that your son is about to realize for you and for all our family." End quote. Perugia insisted he merely expected a great reward from the Italian government for returning the Mona Lisa to them. So he was going to return it and expected a huge reward, but he charged the two dudes $100,000 just to look at her. He's full of malarkey, bologna sauce.
He's a bit delusional.
It's not clear if anyone told him during the trial that the Mona Lisa had been in France for 250 years before Napoleon was even born.
And he doesn't know history.
No. Delusional and unhistorically educated.
This is true. Perugia went on to testify that he had waited until he felt it was safe to leave France with the painting. 2 years after, he had stolen her. And when he arrived in Florence, he continued to hide the painting in the same false-bottom trunk. He didn't try to explain why he then tried to sell her to the antique dealer rather than give her to Uffizi or some other museum.
Now, the public opinion of Perugia was that he was sort of a Robin Hood-like hero. People generally thought he had done the right thing. And because the Italian court viewed him as a nationalist, they decided to be rather lenient with him. They sentenced him to 1 year and 15 days, but he only served time for 7 months.
He got off pretty easy.
Yeah.
But this
really
was the
did.
early 1900s, too. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. But
that
you
seems
would...
pretty lenient, though. You think they would have just, locked him up for a long time, but they saw him as a nationalist.
Well, it's interesting because, we had referenced the Titanic earlier, right? When the
Right.
Titanic went down, there was a bunch of artwork on the Titanic that was
Right.
lost forever, and that was a recent thing. So you would think it would be in everybody's minds that you would want to protect the artwork as much as possible because they just lost so many pieces. So to just give them a year, I don't know.
Well, they got the painting back, and I imagine it was in the condition as to when he took it.
That's true.
No harm was done other than, he took it.
There's a doorknob missing in the Louvre.
That's probably why he went to jail.
After his release during World War I, he served in the Italian army, where he was captured and put in a POW camp for 2 years. After the war, he returned to France, where he lived a quiet life of painting. He died in 1925 from lead poisoning, possibly due to the paint that he had been using. But the media didn't catch it right away because by then he was going by the name Pietro Perugia. Ironic that they let him return to France, too.
Well, he served his country.
Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he was a POW.
Well, that's true.
So, the guy's a bit odd.
Right.
But he doesn't sound like a real bad dude.
Right.
He's just delusional.
True. Well, one interesting thing that I came across was that in the 1950s, his body was exhumed and placed in the cemetery's bone locker. Now, first, I couldn't find any information as to why he was exhumed. But second, I had to look up bone locker because, in all honesty, I had never heard that term before. As far as I can figure out, it's a less fancy term, but definitely a descriptive one, for a columbarium, or public building on cemetery grounds where urns containing cremated bodies are kept.
So, I guess the important thing was that the Mona Lisa was found. She did tour Italy for a bit before being brought back to the Louvre. But the confusing details of why she was stolen and just exactly how she was stolen still haven't really been solved.
Especially when 1932 rolled around, and a journalist named Carl Decker with the Saturday Evening Post wrote a pretty interesting article. He claimed an informant named Marquis Eduardo di Valfierno, which roughly translates to the Marquis of the Vale of Hell, was the mastermind behind the entire thing. And can I just say that the Marquis of the Vale of Hell might just be the coolest name I've ever heard? Like, if I was going to be a Marquis, I would want a name like that.
Yes, dear, that's a very cool name. Decker claimed that he met with the Marquis Valfierno back in 1913, but he promised not to publish the story until after Valfierno's death. So what was the Marquis of the Vale of Hell's story? Well, he was an Argentinian con man who hired 3 henchmen. He specifically named Perugia and the 2 Lancelotti brothers to steal the Mona Lisa from the Louvre. And he paid them all a lot of money to do it, of course. This was possibly the real fortune Perugia referred to in his letters to his father. Valfierno's plan was pretty simple. With the real painting out of the way, he could have copies made, put out feelers for unscrupulous buyers interested in a stolen painting, and sell the copies to unsuspecting crooks just like him. As long as Perugia didn't get caught, his plan would most certainly work.
And according to Decker's article, Valfierno's plan did work. He hired famed French art forger Yves Chadron to paint 6 copies of the Mona Lisa. Then, he claimed, he sold all 6 forgeries to American buyers for $300,000 apiece. In 1932, $300,000 was a lot of money. It'd be close to $6.7 million today apiece. The only problem is, no one has ever heard of Yves Chadron or seen any of his work. For a famous forger, he's absolutely unknown in the art world. Not a single one of these 6 forgeries have ever been found, nor have any photographs of Chadron himself. He is so unknown, in fact, that most historians doubt that he even existed at all. Historians doubt the Marquis Eduardo di Valfierno existed either. There's just no solid proof that Decker's informant was a real person. A number of historians think that Decker made him up, that the entire article was a sham. A sham about a sham.
So yes, the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre, casting a worldwide spotlight onto her face. Photos of the painting were in countless newspapers across the globe, cementing her in every single reader's mind as the most famous painting in the world. Everyone knew her face. Everyone knew her name.
But what do we really know about the man or men who stole her? Not much. Did Perugia really do it all on his own? Did he do it because he mistakenly thought he needed to get revenge on Napoleon? Was the Marquis di Valfierno a real person? Are there really 6 copies out there that someone's ancestor paid $300,000 for? That's a heck of a find, hiding up in somebody's attic.
I mean, really, when you think about it, it's a whodunit as mysterious as Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile.
Ha. That was a little punny for you.
What are you trying to say?
It was a punny. It was a pun. It was funny, but it was... Anyway. What a story.
It's pretty incredible.
I'm just happy that we got the painting back. Although, I say that like I'm a French woman or an Italian woman. I mean, the world got the painting back.
Well, I'm more French than you.
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm partially French. I mean, we discovered that our families, if we go all the way back, came from the same island in Canada.
Well, my family ended up on this island.
Mine did too.
Right.
From France.
Which is rather bizarre to think that we were that close.
But nobody, as far as we know, from our families ever married. Until now.
Yikes. Good thing we didn't have kids together. They'd have fins and 3 eyeballs. I don't know. Well, there you have it, the story of the Mona Lisa. I've never really took much interest in her. I mean, yes, she's a well-done painting, but I don't know. She just never hasn't spoken to me. I don't look at her and go, "Ooh, the Mona Lisa." It's like,
Well, that's the thing, is that the reason she's so famous is because she was stolen. If she hadn't been stolen, most of us wouldn't even know about the Mona Lisa.
She'd be another chick hanging on the wall.
Right. She'd be another of Da Vinci's paintings, but I don't think she would have the fame that she does now.
No.
People looked into who she was and where she was sitting because she was stolen. I'm more partial to Botticelli and Caravaggio myself. They're my favorite painters.
I'm more inclined for the Elvis paintings on the black velvet. Just kidding with you all. I hated those back in the 60s and 70s.
That was awesome.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode.
Yes, if you'd like to know more about the time the Mona Lisa was stolen, you can always check our sources in our show notes.
Join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Our Minds Wander.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.